Well, before I move to the actual review, I just want to thank the YouTuber who made this manga known to people like me. And I've got to say, you gave me one of the best read that I had till now. With that said, let's move to the actual content. So, when I started reading Alice in Borderland, I was very skeptical since Akumetsu and Dorohedoro didn't live up to my expectations and lacked many facets of storytelling that actually makes a piece of entertainment good. But third time is the charm, and yeah, Alice in Borderland wasn't just good, it was pretty awesome. But with any form of media, it has its downsides, but not something that would take away your interest or would hamper your enjoyment. But I would be coming to that later, and I would try to be a little brief about it, but again, there isn't anything severe, so I think I would have trouble to articulate my words around it. The manga is actually pretty great, and the early chapters are enough to hook someone in. But as someone who read Liar Game and Kaiji, I was little reluctant to start reading it because damn with you texts. But I was surprised when I saw that it wasn't the case with this manga, since the plot was well thought out and it didn't require extra set of sentences to put forward what's going on. It was all done through subtle change of facial features and a firm pacing control. Aside from that, although this manga was based on psychological battles, but it wasn't the sole focus in here, since it was more about the characters than the actual game. It was like a slice of life manga built upon the psychological manipulations, and it was indeed an unique story that I have read in a long time. So Alice in Borderland is an isekai manga, but the actual rules of isekai doesn't apply, so it's more like a besekai manga since all the events take place in an apocalyptic era of the world we are currently living in. The plot of Alice in Borderland isn't so convoluted as much as it's mysterious. It's about a group of early teenagers who get transferred to another world with a sudden fireworks that lit up the sky, and from then there they have to take part in deadly quests to guarantee themselves an additional day of survival. The games are basically strictly ordered with stringent rules, and according to the value of card numbers in a deck, the difficulty of each level is set, and that too becomes apparent later to our protagonist because it was all so sudden that they were totally clueless when they stepped into the world of the Borderlands. And there's a highly important facet of a story associated with what I just mentioned, but I'll be coming to that later. Now, I haven't watched Sword Art Online, but I can tell you Alice in Borderland was very brutal, that at times it would even put Kaiji to shame. Nonetheless, the violence and gore were indeed much needed, and the portrayal of it wasn't forced, I should say, but rather was shown to be the part of us humans' animalistic nature and desires. And the question that we ask ourselves, like what defines us humans, was pretty appropriately taken into consideration and was told through our protagonist's POV and the other side characters' backstory and what led them to make certain decisions in the game. Now, I love when a story doesn't try to make a character very alienated from the reader, but rather makes the reader understand their viewpoint and the circumstances that led them to be what they are now. And in Alice in Borderland, this aspect was given much attention. And in here, the question of self-worth and humanity was present all throughout the manga, making the readers take note of many developments through the perspective of why and not what. Often the characters would find themselves questioning, will they be able to get over the death of the ones they formed a bond within the Borderlands? Or will they be able to remain self-centered but not by betraying others? Or do something meaningful in their life? Or will they be able to finally find the purpose of their life and gain respect and admiration from the people who once neglected their very existence? In certain depictions of some character's journey, you probably would see yourself, since it highlights those negative aspects of our life that resists us to be what we once wanted to be, or which makes us belittle ourselves based on some other person's words or actions. The message wasn't sugar-coated and was very vibrant. Kind of reminded me of Welcome to NHK, and the way the mangaka tried to imbibe the very message through character interactions and self-reflections throughout the game was really one of a kind experience. The story was beautifully crafted, and it was very fulfilling to see the growth of the protagonist in just 90 chapters. And the same can be said for the other characters as well. We see many of them accept themselves for who they are, many get over their past traumatic experiences, many of them establishing their new identities, many fighting for what's right, and this was all so intricately interconnected and well rounded up at the end. Now, I won't say too much since there are many characters that you should experience by yourself. Every character in here plays their key role precisely and doesn't interfere in the growth of the protagonist but rather supports it. And the mangaka did draw out the story on both subjective and objective levels. Unlike Liar Game, the readers were shown why a character comes to a certain conclusion through thought bubbles. And although I won't criticize Liar Game very much, but yeah, this style of writing makes the character feel much more connected to the reader. When I uploaded the video on Liar Game, I didn't make the games in there known to you all, fearing that it might be all spoilers. But then again, this manga revolves around many games and emotions and vice versa. So hear me out or you can skip to this timestamp. As I previously mentioned, the difficulty of the games rises accordingly to the card numbers in a deck. And since this is Borderlands, anything is possible. So the games range from simple hide and seek to poker to many new innovative ones. But this time, contrary to Liar Game and even far more deadlier than Kaiji, no one is safe. And everyone is prone to cruel and merciless deaths. And if someone decides not to participate with their time running out, they would die as well. So one is left with no choice but to participate without any guarantee of their exit and their future that's also clouded in mystery, which becomes the sole reason for the growth of our protagonist Arisu. Arisu was shown to be as someone to whom his life had no meaning at all and was always defined by others. But after coming to the Borderlands, although reluctantly, he tried to find the meaning of this very life that he once ignored under the influence of words from other people. His struggle to find himself was done through many hit and miss moves by him, and he also pays the price for it. There hasn't been many manga where I can get behind and move along with the protagonist. Sure, I would acknowledge their prowess, their ideology, but never have I been able to relate myself so deeply with a fictional character. But with Arisu, I was able to do so. And even I feel that there would be very few characters who are suited for this story if it wasn't Arisu. He went from being a nobody to somebody that impacted many lives in the Borderlands. And it was due to his both innate understanding of values and lessons that he got to learn while living with others in their de facto home, that is the Borderlands. As for the antagonists, there were very minor ones here and there, but mostly could attribute the role to Arisu's journey and circumstances. And there's an actual antagonist, but I would be just spoiling it, so no. But what I can say is that after such a long time, I got to read a manga where I actually liked the protagonist a lot more than the antagonist. And that's all I can say for now. Alongside the story and the characters, the art also did complement the overall narrative of Alice in Borderland. This ranged from characters' emotions during precarious and tense situations to the portrayal of the Borderlands buildings, environment and the eerie atmosphere, and the black and white contrast did stand out pretty well. The panels showed a slow and steady progress of the story at times, and it was able to cut short unnecessary parts. I mean, this was all truly done pretty well. I don't feel like there's much to complain aside from the ending, which wasn't able to provide the satisfying conclusion and left many questions unanswered. Also, the final arc wasn't able to maintain the level of detail it had brought to the table through its early arcs. And that's about it. Even I don't want to scrutinize this manga very deeply since its positive points overshadow the negative aspects. And at last, all I can say is, if you aren't reading this manga, you are missing a lot. The protagonist's life is very grim and hollow, like what was with Shinji from Evangelion, and his self-loathing also resembles Shinji's self-doubt that was present all throughout NGE. The strategies in these games were put into effect very well. Of course, every death battle can't be like Liar Game, but Alice in Borderland does its job very decently. The side characters didn't feel very one-dimensional and would make their presence felt to the reader like any of Urasawa Sensei's manga, and all this was put in a proper amount and was held on for a necessary duration. So yeah, I tried my best to remain as close to what I wanted to say about this manga, and I think I should wrap it up now. So yeah, again, do read Alice in Borderland, you'd like it. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share and also subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any manga and anime. Nah, just manga content for now. And yeah, this video took a little time, but I really do hope you all read it. And zap!